Okay, Ed gave me 10 minutes, so I might be talking fast, but I've timed my sections to make sure it's 10 minutes and practice that, so it'll be right around 10 minutes. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Phoebe, and I'm from Portland, and at my elementary school, Chapman Elementary School is downtown. Outside of the school, there's a hand with a globe that my 5th grade class made, and in the 5th grade, we were asked to write what we want to be when we grow up, and we put those slips inside of the globe, so it's in there, and I wrote doctor. In middle school, I heard the stories about women in Africa who would walk hours and hours to go to a medical clinic, or even just to go bring water to their families. And I decided then that I wanted to be a third world doctor. In high school, I followed the pre-med track. I took chemistry, advanced chemistry. I got to college, and I was in pre-med my freshman year. And even with 2 years behind me, chemistry was just not sticking. The struggle was real. I spent many a night up until 5 a.m. on the same page or in the same section, just trying to make it click, and it wasn't. And I was wrestling with God, like, why, God? If I want to do this for humble reasons, I want to help people, I want to serve people. For me, it's not about the money. Why am I struggling so much? Why is it not connecting? So, oops, I forgot to push start on the timer. Okay. And, let's see. So I interned that summer at Mariah Taylor's North Portland Pediatric Clinic for the uninsured, and I translated and I did head, ears, eyes, nose, throat, heart, lungs with the patients, and it was an awesome experience. I loved it, but at the end of that 8 weeks, considering everything, I thought, okay, maybe God doesn't want me to be a doctor, maybe that's not in the cards for me, but I still wanted to serve in a third world capacity. So I'm a double major, Spanish, and then I went into psychology. My mom said, third world people don't need psychologists, they need doctors. So I felt like I was letting a lot of people down from what I've told people my whole life, like, I'm gonna be a doctor, a third world doctor, to help people, but it's okay. So the story continues. So my first job was a lifeguard because of that medical side, and I had to do CPR, first aid, and I loved that side, but I also was varsity swimmer since freshman year in high school, so I was basically summoned to be a swim instructor as well, because people saw that I worked well with children, and the teaching was a gift, as we will see that unravel. Now, I will back it up a second and say in middle school, I was a secondary mama, a backup mama, because I do come from a single mother family. So my mom was working 2 jobs. I would go to daycare in middle school, pick up my little sister, who was just barely born, and walk her back home in the stroller. People asking me, is that your child? I'm like, does it look like this is my child? I'm like 12. But I was, enough changing diapers and all that, so I kind of had my mom thing really early on, and by the time I got to college, I was done, like, with mommy duty. I was kind of burnt out on that. However, every job that I ended up getting was always with kids. So I ended up tutoring and working with Saturday Academy, photography, chemistry. So I was like, okay, all right, God, I see that there's a pattern here, even though I'm trying to do medical, but, so there was my will, but there was God's will. And it kept happening that, I was ushered into God's will. So, sophomore year of college, I was baptized into the SDA church. And I loved the holy nap, and so after church I snuggled into bed with my favorite magazine at the time, Adventist World, and the cover story was about orphans in India. Now, we already know that I was burned out from kids. I wasn't really interested in the orphan aspect, and in India I didn't even like curry at the time. I was since acquired tastes, but I read the spread anyways, and something happened. I heard God's voice. And he said, I want you to go and be the coordinator of an orphanage. And I sat with that, and I knew that there was 2 options. One, I could accept God's will, or I could do my will. But I knew at that time that if I did my will, then it would just take longer to get back to my life's curriculum. And so if that's what he has in store for me, it's going to happen, whether I like it or not, probably. So I might as well just accept and make it easy on myself. So I said, all right, hands up, all right, I accept. So fast forward to, I'm 25, oh, hold up, I got a verse. James 1:27. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So then, age 25. I'm not a TV watcher, I've never even owned a TV, but I felt, this is April 2011, I felt, I need to turn the TV on. I'm just gonna, for some reason, turned it on. It was a Korean show, I think it was called Love, and it was about this celebrity who went to visit orphanages. And something happened at that time. There was a direct download from, it was a divine intervention from God, and just this whole huge, comprehensive idea just came to me, and I was like, it was amazing. So I literally opened up my laptop, and I spent all night for 8 hours writing everything that came to me to that download. It was pretty intense, and so at the end of the 8 hours, an all-nighter, I had this proposal written, and it was basically a 1-year volunteering, self-funded volunteering, working with orphans in one country in each season. So Vietnam was first, and then, and then Puerto Rico, and then Brazil, and then Serbia. And so I have another verse, Isaiah 55:9. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. So 2 to 3 months later, after getting this download, I was gone with one backpack. I'm talking about a high school size backpack, not a backpacker size. And I was gone for a year. And it was the best year. It was one of the best years of my life. And I've traveled a lot. And I've lived a lot in my life. But it was one of the best years. And He knows what's best for us. And even though I wasn't making money, I was spending money. And even though I wasn't here, doing what people do at that age, finding a husband, getting married, there were sacrifices, but it was an amazing year. So now I became 30 years old, and I needed to come home for my support network here. And also I wanted to focus on my career, so I just wouldn't be a perpetual global backpacker around the world, right? So I could do this on a professional level, going overseas. And I'm getting over a cold, sorry. And so I became a licensed substitute for 3 years, and I got lots of positive affirmation from my students, from staff, from admin, to the point that I decided to go pursue my Master's of Arts and Teaching. And I did that, and that's where the Texas Plates comes in. I moved to Texas, and I taught face-to-face in brick and mortar for a year, and I loved it. I loved it. The students loved it. We had a good rapport. Then COVID hit, and the past 4 years, I just stuck with it. The past 4 years, I've been working online, virtually teaching, and it served its purpose for a time, but now I've kind of just still been doing it, and it's nice to be, there's the pros and cons. It's nice to be close to Maverick, but I just have felt over time like tired. I'm in the American rat race, the hamster wheel, and for me, I think that's a way of God saying, this isn't your calling to be behind a screen, forever. And so, I've thought about the orphans in the orphanage weekly, and I think about being overseas pretty much every day. And so that brings me towards the end, about God's voice and God's will. So dream work makes the team work, and I firmly believe that praying is very important, but I also need to do my part. And so I've applied to some different, I put my application into some different things, and I believe that if it's God's will for me, then He'll open those doors. And if it's not, He'll keep that door closed. So I just haven't really been sweating it. I did my part, and with the belief that God will do His, and I got accepted. This is the first time my mom's hearing this. She couldn't be here tonight because she works graveyard, but it's recorded, so first time, hey Mom, she's gonna hear this, surprise. I got accepted into a program. It's a postgraduate postgraduate licensure program for education administration. And so I got accepted into that, and so now I've turned in the scholarship, and so I'm waiting for that part to come in. And so one door opened, but I'm like, okay, honestly, God, I don't want to be a student again. I like being on the teacher side of it, not the studying side. I have to study 3 times as hard as everyone else. It's a lot of energy and time. I don't really want to do it, but I see that that program, if I do that, it can give me the foundation that I need to run an orphanage. So like, how would I run an orphanage? I don't have that knowledge to do that. How would I do that? And so this can be that. That's what I'm looking at it. And so if I get that scholarship, it's like, all right, that's a go. So essentially, that brings me to the end. Luke 22:42. Jesus, before the crucifixion, he prayed. And he wrestled with God and said, you know, he didn't want to die. He didn't want to die on the cross and be crucified and tortured. He didn't want that. But he said, not my will, but yours be done. And so that's where I'm at. And so thank you for your sermon today too, because it's just like, you know, that's what we need. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.